I'm Dr. Jameson, and today I'm joined by Dr. Barnish, and we'll be exploring the role of the science behind genetic testing and optimizing nutrition.
Amazing.
So, Michael, today we're going to unpack a little bit about understanding the role of genetic testing and how it can be used to optimize nutrition. So, Michael, do you want to tell me a little bit about how genetic testing can be used to personalize nutrition and optimize health?
Yeah, so we live in a world where genetic testing is so readily available to everyone now, which is marvelous. And science has revealed lots of different parts of the genetic code that interact with our nutrients or determine how our body interacts with those nutrients. And therefore, we can really put a picture for someone in place around where their strengths and weaknesses are around managing their nutrition, what foods they should avoid, what foods they should be eating, what supplements they should take at what doses, and of course whether they can supplement intravenously with those nutrients as well. So it really is the birth of precision nutrition now, enabled by the genetic testing.
Okay, Michael. So can you tell us a little bit more about the specific genes that are commonly analysed to determine what an individual's nutritional needs are?
Yeah, so in our 10x precision genetic test, we look at 66 different areas of the genetic code that are common in between individuals that change the way that the body interacts with nutrients. So some examples of those that are really common and commonly sought after are what we call SNPs, or changes in the genetic code around methylation and detoxification. But one example is how well we clear caffeine. So do we clear caffeine well or not is really the fundamental thing behind whether coffee is bad or good for us and for our health preservation.
Okay, so you touched on a little bit about caffeine metabolism there. Can you tell us about how gene variation affects nutrient absorption and metabolism?
Yeah, so one key example there is if we look at B12, there's enzymes in the body where the genes code for it that recycle these nutrients within the body. In the case of B12, there's an enzyme called MTRR, and it recycles activated B12 called methylcobalamin back into, once it's been used, back into methylcobalamin so it can be used again. And not everyone has the same genetic efficiency of that. So ultimately, what we find is that you have more of a predisposition to feeling symptoms of deficiency in those cases because you're not able to recycle that activated form of the nutrient really well. So that's just one example, but of course there's many, and what we need to do is pull all those examples together, bring that individualization across, create a big picture so we can start mapping nutrients, foods, supplements, IVs to people.
Okay. So you mentioned there again about nutrient deficiency. How can genetic markers help us identify nutrient deficiencies and potential sensitivities to certain nutrients?
Yeah, so it's not going to pick up a deficiency, but what it will do is pick up a risk of developing symptoms in deficiency. So if you put genetic testing with a blood test, for example, you pick up the deficiencies, but also you'd pick up the risks and why that might be the case. So, for example, vitamin D circulates the blood, but it's actually taken into the cell where it does all its actions around mood, immune health, bone health, for example. It's taken up into the cell by the vitamin D receptor. Not everyone has great abilities for grabbing hold of that vitamin D. And so if you don't have good genetic ability there, you're going to either feel deficiency more if you are deficient, or you're going to be a little bit more prone to deficiency in that case as well. And so by understanding these genetic factors, we as medical professionals or customers can really pinpoint where their weaknesses are and really stay super focused on maintaining those nutritional values.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned a little bit, and we talked there about the role of blood testing in combination with genetic testing. We're all very familiar with blood testing. Can you explore a little bit how reliable genetic testing is?
Yeah, so genetic testing is highly reliable. Science has been doing this now for the best part of 2 decades, and they're able to deliver extremely high accuracy results. 99.97% accurate. Nothing in science is ever labeled as 100% accurate, but it's not that far off.
So I guess there we've talked about a bit of an introduction to genetic testing, how it can potentially be used. Do you want to give us some insights into how genetic testing can be used to improve supplementation and improve one's health?
Well, we know one size fits all is not the way forward. We've known that for a long time, and people are seeking more deeper personalization, and the deepest level of personalization is genetics. So where do you start? What's your start point when we're thinking about supplementation, whether that's IV supplementation, oral supplementation, skincare supplementation? Where do we actually start? And we can start by determining how our body's built, so our genetic blueprint. And if we do that, we've got a really good foundation to build upon. I know so many people that take different supplements, and they'll change the supplements week on week. They'll see an advert, add that in, then forget about that one. And there's no system to it. I see it so prolifically, with my patients, with my friends, with colleagues. And it's just about how do we bring data in so we can actually guide people on that supplementation. And that's what we're doing with genetics. We're bringing in those genetic factors. We're looking at the body's strengths and weaknesses, but we're building a big picture. We're putting it all together because, it all sings and dances together. And when we do that, we get a highly complex big picture of 40 different nutrients and substances as to whether we should increase or decrease something. And of course, this is all based on what's out there in the scientific literature that might be helpful to date. And so we're able to build these, deeply personalized protocols down to the milligrams and micrograms of 20 different nutrients. In the IV, it's 13 or 14 different nutrients, depending on your genes. And really bring that precision to life with oral supplementation.
So how can genetic testing reveal increased needs for certain vitamins and minerals?
So when you know where the body has weaknesses around its nutritional metabolism, so perhaps you're slower to clear brain stress chemicals, or perhaps you're not very good at activating certain nutrients like folate into a highly important active form called methylfolate, or perhaps you're a poor detoxifier, you might need more antioxidants. So when we can see those weaknesses, and we can see where the weaknesses are across the board, across the body systems, we're able to look at, we can then determine what nutrients are best for you, and we can deliver that in any way. We map it to foods, we map it to oral supplements, and we map it to IV therapy. So regardless of how you want to bring your nutrition on board in this modern 21st century, you have the solution.
Okay. So we all lead different lifestyles. People have different exercise routines that they follow and different habits. How can these lifestyle factors interact with our genetic predispositions to nutrient deficiencies or increased needs for certain nutrients?
Yeah, so it's really important because, our genetics are a set code. They never change. They're the same at birth and they're the same at death. What does change is we can dial those genes up or down, a bit like a dimmer switch. We can make them express more or we can make them express less. And we know we do that from our environment. So those habits, those exercise regimes, the habits we do, smoking, drinking, the things we're exposed to in our environment, including stress, all play roles in what we call epigenetic factors. So they are able to dial up or dial down bad or good genes. So depending on whether the lifestyle behavior is good or bad. And so, it becomes a really important part of the picture. And in the reports, of course, we touch on what you should be avoiding in your environment as well, what exercises you should be doing, so we can bring it all together, because nutrition is a core, but we need to think of the lifestyle as well.
You mentioned earlier on you've worked with lots of different peoples, both professionally and personally. Have you got any examples of real life stories of when people have used genetic testing to optimize their nutrition and health?
Yes, I mean, so many. When we're working at trying to reverse diabetes or improve on a certain condition or symptom, genetics really gives me data to allow us to navigate the best way forward. It really is a data-driven approach to any health journey, really, and understanding how your nutrigenetic factors play a role, you can really guide on the nutrition, the lifestyle. You can make it super easy for a customer or a patient to undertake that journey. You know, there's your QR code, go and have your IV once a month. There's your QR code, get your supplements for 3 months because we need to correct that nutrition. There's your food table. You know, anything that's green on that side is a superfood for you. So build your meals out of those foods for me. It takes a lot, you know, it's data driven, but takes a lot of the hard work for the customers out of it. And then I can do the refining and the medical stuff on top of that. And I just, you know, it's the best way forward. When you know someone's blueprint, you can plan, you can construct the building appropriately. And that's what we're doing.
So we're just at the beginning of solving this puzzle and putting all the pieces of the jigsaw together in terms of genetics and the role of genetics in nutrition and personalized health. Where do you see the role of genetic testing going in the future?
Genetics, you know, we'll look at it from a nutritional standpoint today, but the science is there around fitness improvement and the genes that are involved in how we oxygenate our body, how we repair and recover, how we build our muscles. There's genes around disease risk. There's a very important area of genetics, which you will know, Adam, is pharmacogenetics. So how medicines interact with our bodies. So when you're getting the prescription from your doctor or healthcare provider, you know that it's being managed by your body in a safe way. It's breaking down well. There is an effect there. And then there's beauty as well, you know, anti-aging genetics. There's factors like the telomerase enzyme that keeps the telomeres, which are the ends of the chromosomes, longer. That's associated with longevity. And so we can see what activity is there. So, you know, science has revealed a lot about, you know, how lifestyle genetics can interact. Science has revealed a lot about how genes can interact with our lifestyles and improve our health. And, you know, the nutrition is the foundational start point there. It will build very quickly, very big.